Hi, it's Teresa from Dodge Nature Center, and time for another Nature to Go. So, have you been walking maybe by a prairie and noticed this stuff on some of the plants? And you're probably wondering, what made that? What's going on in there? Well, there's actually an insect inside there, the nymph stage, so kind of the teenager stage, and it's kind of insect called a froghopper. Now, at this point in its life, it's in the nymph stage. So it's hatched out of an egg, and then it starts to feed. And what it's feeding on is sap that's inside the stems of the plants. Their mouth is sort of a spiky part, so it can pierce into the stem and start sucking out the sap that's inside. That sap gets processed in their body, but there's leftover material they don't need, and as most animals do, after you eat, you have to get rid of that waste. But when it comes out of the nymph's body, what happens is it mixes with another fluid that's in their body on a gland in their abdomen. And then it's forced out of their body where air is introduced, and it creates this mass of bubbles. So those are kind of butt bubbles, if you want to think of it that way. And those bubbles are doing a lot of things to help the nymphs. Now, number one, they are helping to keep them, the little nymphs, covered. So it helps to keep them from drying out in winds. It helps to insulate them from temperature extremes. And it also hides them from predators. The nymphs feed on these stems upside down, so that then as they produce the bubbles flow down over their bodies. And they can produce up to 80 bubbles a minute. Now, most time when people see these on plants, they may know them as spittlebugs. But as we've just talked about, it's not spit from the bugs, it's bubbles coming out of that back end of the bugs. After about 8 weeks, the nymphs make one last molt, and they come out as adults, where they will live until the fall. By the late September, early October, the females will lay eggs in the stems of plants, usually where leaves and stems join together. And then the adults die, and those eggs overwinter. And then next spring, the nymphs will hatch out and start the process all over again. So be on the lookout for spittlebugs. They'll be with us for a couple of more weeks here. And remember, as much as we call them spittlebugs, it's actually butt bubbles that are being made to protect these little nymphs of the spittlebug family. Thanks for joining me for this episode of Nature to Go, and we'll talk to you again next time.